Listeners, NerdWallet wants you to let them do the work for you. Looking for auto insurance? The Nerds will match you with top providers in your area in just a few questions. So getting the right rate for you is as simple as going to nerdwallet.com. After all, letting NerdWallet do the work is more than smart. It's genius. Not all applicants will qualify for the lowest monthly payments. NerdWallet Insurance Services Incorporated. California resident license number OK92033. The Rachel Hollis podcast is proudly sponsored by Amica Insurance. As Amica says, empathy is our best policy. That's why they'll go above and beyond to tailor your insurance coverage to best fit your needs. Whether you're on the road, at home, or traveling along life's journey, their friendly and knowledgeable representatives will work with you to ensure that you have the right coverage in place. Amica will provide you with peace of mind. Go to amica.com to get a quote today. If you actually just find the courage to stop interacting with them in a way that feeds something in them, they will go find someone else to harass. So let's get tactical. How are we dealing with these people? I'm going to give you 5 real quick, and then we're going to take a deep dive into each. Number 1, don't engage in their drama. Number 2, set and stick to your boundaries. Number 3, stop trying to change them. Just stop. You're not going to change them, and it's not your job. Number 4, use the emotional shield technique. I'm going to explain that in a minute. And number 5, protect your energy. Hey guys, it's Rach. Welcome to the show. I'm so glad that you're here with us today. And I have a favor, which sounds kind of harsh if we just met, but I'm assuming that most of you have been a part of this community for a hot minute. And so I gotta ask, are you subscribed to the podcast? Subscribing to the podcast you listen to regularly is one of the best things that you can do for hosts like me. It helps to support the show and the staff that works on it. It ensures that you never miss an episode when we drop a new one. And here's the cool thing about subscribing. If you do it and then you hate this show, just unsubscribe. It's one click away. In the meantime, if you're listening, we would so appreciate it if you would just tap that button and make it official. Hey guys, it's Rach. Welcome back to the show. I'm glad you're here to talk about difficult people. I don't know why that makes me laugh, because we all have our version of the difficult people. And I felt like this was sort of a universally relevant conversation. But I want to add a little caveat before we jump in. My intention with this episode is to talk about the difficult people that we encounter inside of everyday life. The ones that we work with, that we go to school with, maybe they're members of our family or friends that we know. This is not a conversation for real, hard, maybe you should break up, the narcissist you know. Like, this is not that conversation. If you are looking for a deeper dive into really toxic relationships and what you should do about them, there are a lot of people who are way smarter than I am on how to deal with that particular type of person. Today is more the everyday annoyances, people that frustrate you, maybe they disrespect you. Like, that's what we're doing today. I just wanted to make sure and establish that before you get very much further into today's conversation and realize it's not going quite as deep as you would like it to. Let's start by thinking of who you know right now that springs to mind when I say difficult people. Now, certainly we will encounter strangers in everyday life that can bring tension to different moments. the angry driver in traffic or someone who is rude to you at the grocery store. But when you think of people you actually know and that you interact with on the daily, who springs to mind at work, in your friends' husbands, those challenging personalities that really test your patience or make you feel uncomfortable? Chances are you've got at least one person that comes to mind when I say that. Let's dig a little deeper here into why it matters that you make a plan for how to deal with that person before you find them upsetting. Research tells us that unresolved conflicts, especially with difficult individuals, lead to increased stress and, because I know we're all trying to work on ourselves, decrease productivity. What springs to mind for me when I think of a difficult person is a boss that I had when I was in my early 20s. And if you ever read my fiction books, she is who the boss in Party Girl is based on. To be fair, Selah, who's the boss in my book, is the combination of a few bad bosses that I had. And we probably all have our version of a manager or a boss that wasn't great. But there's one in particular that springs to mind because some people aren't great as managers, maybe because they don't have the skills or they don't know enough. This person that I'm thinking of, it felt like she actively wanted to be mean. It felt like she was on a power trip to make other women in lower positions than her feel inferior. Now, I'm 42. At the time, I was 20. So I didn't have any of the resources or information or decades of work that I've done on myself to understand why someone is a bully. Clearly, she had some insecurities that she needed to act out, make herself feel bigger. But the why didn't matter to me at all when I was 20 years old because I just couldn't figure out how I could possibly succeed. But my gosh, did I try. And I have so many memories of her making comments and saying things that were mean and like just sliding in every chance she could to make me feel dumb. And it worked. I felt so stupid when I worked for this woman, and I'm not stupid. I know that I didn't know as much at 20 as I do now, but I was a hard worker and I had been an executive assistant for 2 years before I started with her. So I came into the role with skills and she did everything she could to tear me down. One of I was going to say my favorite memories because it's my least favorite memory of my time with her is I was her assistant and we worked on this big team, let's say 20 people inside of a much bigger organization. I'll tell you the organization actually, Ogilvy. Ogilvy is a massive advertising agency. They've been around forever. So I worked as an assistant to her on a team of, let's say, 20 people. And it just so happened that the account we worked on was a female-focused brand. So as the case was, all 20 people in this department were women. I am telling you this story. I haven't thought about it in years, and it is literally making my chest feel tight because I've I've oppressed this memory. But she came to me one day and she was like, the team has been working so hard. Everyone's doing such a good job. I want to plan a fabulous dinner for the entire team, and we're going to celebrate this quarter and all the things that we've done. I need you to plan it for me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, absolutely. And over the next month, I planned this amazing dinner, and she's a very hard person to please, but like I worked so hard to find the right restaurant and what's the signature cocktail, and here's the thing, and everyone's gonna go here and whatever. And I planned this whole thing. And I'm like getting so excited because this event for our team is gonna be awesome. And everyone's pumped up and like, oh, okay, we're gonna wear cute outfits today, blah, blah, blah. Everything's leading up to the big day where after work, we're all going to this like amazing event to celebrate the hard work we've done as a team. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe I've completely oppressed this. That day comes, it's like a Friday, let's say. Everyone's buzzing, 'cause they're all really excited. We're going to do this thing. She walks past my desk with like 3 women on the team. And she's like, okay, we're going to the party. I'll see you on Monday. And I am telling you guys, like, it was so pointed, meaning everybody had like dressed up to go to this thing. I am clearly dressed up to go to the event that I have planned to celebrate the hard work of our team. And in front of 2 other senior members of the team, she very pointedly is like, you are not invited to this. I'll see you on Monday. Oh my, I could like do stories about this woman forever. Years ago, I did look up where she is now because I was like, there is no way that she is successful in business. There's just no way. Because some people are nightmares, but they're really good at what they do. And so the world allows them to get away with it. She was not really good at what she does. She was just a bully who had found her way into a higher level role. And my Google search indicated that that was correct. She had petered out, and I don't know where she is now, hopefully doing therapy. But she was someone who felt to me like she was mean just to be mean. And I had to interact with her every day. That was how I paid my bills. I was barely surviving. I had to show up and do my job. But how do you go into those environments or to the family Christmas party or to interact with your ex or whatever? How do you go into those situations knowing that you're going to encounter a difficult person? My hope is that by the end of this episode, you'll have a bunch of ideas for how to handle tough personalities. And I've done some extra research here because I really wanted this conversation to be evidence-based, not just me going like, my boss was mean, and here's what I think you should do. I am almost exclusively just giving you advice about what I think you should do. But for this one in particular, I wanted to bring in a little science. So my ideas for today, hopefully, are going to be a bit more impactful. Why do difficult people affect us so much? Psychological impact. So studies show that negative interactions have a more significant impact because of something called negativity bias. I'm not sure if you guys understand negativity bias. This is something I am intimately familiar with. Negativity bias is a tendency that we have where negative experiences, negative thoughts, negative emotions have a greater impact on our brains than positive ones, right? I mean, I think we all have experienced this. It's, in the simplest of terms, our minds are wired to focus more on what is wrong than what is right. Why does it exist? Evolutionary process. It's a survival mechanism. You've heard me talk about this. Like, do you know that the brain evolved from the base out? Did you know that? Sorry, I'm just being a dork for a second. But I found that out recently. Like, it started with the most basic part of our brain and then evolved to the brain that we have today, which has our prefrontal cortex. The reason that that matters is that the prefrontal cortex, so imagine kind of the outer front side of your brain, that's the rational thought. That's you going, okay, wait, slow down. Like, let me think this through. I'm not going to, rip her head off. I'm actually going to, that's not the part of your brain that was first formed. The reason that matters is it means through evolution, the oldest part of our brain is the base of our brain, which is our amygdala. And our amygdala is what signals fight or flight. So at the most basic level, if you're a lizard, you are not sticking around to find out if the human who's walking by you is safe or not. You see something coming at you, you immediately run away. A lizard does not have the use of a prefrontal cortex, which allows it to rationalize whether or not the human is safe. Sorry, I'm getting real deep into the weeds. I'm such a nerd. But I will talk about this with you over coffee sometime if you want to take it all the way down. Here's the summary. You have a very ancient brain inside of your body. It has been evolving over many, 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 many years. But the oldest part of it, the part that was originally most in control, is the part that is signaled by fight or flight, which means that's the part of your brain that has taught itself to only look for danger. And if you have experienced trauma in your life in any significant way, it means that your amygdala is probably the part that is usually in control. So you have a negativity bias to look for things that are wrong versus things that are right, which means you might go through your day and encounter so many lovely, amazing humans, but what you remember at the end of the day is the person who cut you off in traffic. Look, everyone knows that toilet paper is not created equal. Not all rolls are the same. Some are too soft. Some, can we say, sort of crumble, if you know what I'm saying? Then other toilet paper is so strong that it can actually hurt. And let's not even talk about the toilet paper that is so thin, it doesn't get the job done. Angel Soft is soft and strong and always affordable. Come on, life is too short. There's too much going on. I don't want to have to overthink this. So pick up a pack of Angel Soft in the toilet paper aisle of your nearest retailer. That's Angel Soft, soft and strong. Simple. It's 2025, guys. And if you are busy, you're working, you're trying to make great choices for your life, your health, your family, you've got to start using Thrive Market. Thrive Market's products are 100% non-GMO and free from over 1,000 harmful ingredients. So when you're shopping on Thrive, you know that anything you find is going to be good for you and your family. Plus, you can scan a product you're used to buying, something that's in your pantry right now, and the Healthy Swap scanner will instantly recommend cleaner, healthier alternatives. The best part about Thrive, I think, is that you put things on a subscription. So when the pantry starts getting low, all of a sudden in the mail is everything you need to restock for school lunches and after school snacks. It is the best. Ready for a junk-free start to 2025? Head to thrivemarket.com/rach and you get 30% off your first order plus a free $60 gift. That's THRIVE market.com/rach. thrivemarket.com/rach. The greatest stress you go through when dealing with a difficult person, this is from Mark and Angel Chernoff, is not fueled by their words or their actions, but by your mind that gives them importance. Tony Robbins has another quote on this that I love. He says, "It's not about the experience. It's about the meaning that you give to the experience." So understanding that our reactions stem from what's going on inside of us, not necessarily the person, allows you to regain control. And I hope reduce the stress caused by these people. I just want to say that again, because I know that listening to this right now are people like me who were raised to be good girls and good boys. And so you have an irrational fear, even if it's at the most subconscious level, of someone being mad at you, right? If you're encountering a difficult person, even if that person is a total a-hole, even if that person is like my old boss and they're being mean just to be mean, even though rational thought might tell you it's not your fault, on the most basic level, you're like, they're mad at me, right? And if you're a people pleaser, if you're like trying to be a good girl, the worst thing that could happen in your mind is that someone is mad at you, even if it's a stranger. So we want to take ownership of this experience, of these interactions with difficult people, which will absolutely happen. Not for them, but so we don't have the energetic hangover of our interactions with them affecting us for a second longer than it needs to. So I think we're all on the same page. We want to learn how to better deal with them. Let's just break down different types of difficult people. And I'm sure you're like, well, there's my Aunt Susan and there's this person, and that you are going to have your own. But I was trying to think of the ones that we're most likely to interact with. And this is what I came up with. I've had a lot of these in my life, so it's the first one on my list, the energy vampire. There's a lot of names we can call this person. They are the ones that you interact with and they drain the best parts of you. These are the people who are constantly negative. These are the people who are big on trauma dumping, if you've ever heard that term before. These are the people that they're users, like they really do thrive on getting around other people and pulling energy out of the situation. How to deal with an energy vampire. There is a fantastic book on this that I read years ago called Dodging Energy Vampires. It is by Christiane Northrup. So check that out if you want to take a deeper dive. But just quick thought on this one. Number one is identifying that people are an energy vampire. And the easiest way to tell this is honestly, how do you feel after you interact with them? If you interact with people and you feel drained, if you feel like a worse version of yourself, chances are you are dealing with a vampire. So once you know that someone is, set clear boundaries. Set clear boundaries. Politely, you don't have to be rude about it, but politely limit interactions so that you deal with this person as little as possible. And if it's someone, for instance, in your family, and there are going to be moments like your niece's birthday party, and you're for sure going to have to interact with them, go into those situations ready to steer the conversation toward topics that are neutral. I have this a lot with members of my family who are super negative. They got their own trauma and their own experiences, and I can have empathy for what they've been through. But if you are not careful, you sit down in a conversation with them, and not only are they sucking all of the energy out of you, but if it's a family member, you're also going to regress to a younger version of yourself in that moment where you feel disempowered to leave the conversation or speak up. If I have to interact with those family members, I go into the moment with a list of things to talk about. I'm going to talk about my kids and I'm going to get granular. I'm like, Sora's doing baseball. Jackson just did the most amazing musical. Like, I'm coming with positive topics that I don't care how big a vampire you are, you can't find a way to spin this. And if for some reason it gets to a place where like, I can't be part of this, okay, then I'm going to extract myself from this conversation. So that's one kind of difficult person. The next person on my list is the one-upper, is the know-it-all. They are always trying to outdo your experiences. Every interaction ends up feeling competitive. They want people to know that they are smarter. There's a great quote I heard recently that said, if you're that guy, you don't need to tell anybody that you're that guy. If you're that girl, you don't need to tell anybody that you're that girl. Beyonce doesn't need to tell anybody that she is that girl. You know, right? Like if you actually are as great as you keep telling people you are, you wouldn't need to keep telling them. So if you find someone in your life doing this, just remember that quote. You don't have to tell it to them, but smile in your head and be like, yeah, if you actually were all that awesome, Andy, you wouldn't need to keep reminding us of that. You can acknowledge their stories without diminishing your own. So let's say it's someone you're interacting with at work and they're like, oh, well, when I was your age, I blah, blah, blah. Oh, that's interesting. Like you do not have to take it any further than that. Yeah, you could be like, that's interesting. Here's my experience. But honestly, if you're dealing with someone who's difficult, shut down the conversation as fast as you are able to. The third kind of difficult person is the blamer, or, and I know this word really throws some people off, but it's the victim mentality. This is the person who never takes responsibility for their actions. They always find someone or something else to blame, right? They are constantly blaming it on everybody but themselves. And if it's someone you've interacted with for a long time, you are looking at them like, this is insane. Like, you are the only variable in this situation that does not change. So if you're dealing with a blamer victim, encourage accountability and ask solution-focused questions. For example, okay, how do you think we can improve the situation? How do you think we can improve it? What are your thoughts here? I experience this a lot in business where people will be like, "Oh, can we get on a call and can we talk about ideas?" And I'm like, who has time for a brainstorm?" And so my reaction is always, "Absolutely. Can you give me some of the thoughts that you have about how to fix this situation so I understand before I get on the call what we're going to be discussing?" And it always shuts things down so quickly because the person who's asking for that interaction, they want to get on the call and be like, "See, I talked about it with you." And what they're really doing is trying to make it your problem. You don't have to get upset. You don't have to be emotional. But before you're willing to interact, okay, great. Well, what could we do to make that better? Okay, well, what are you thinking about trying? Put it back on them. And eventually, they're either going to change their way of thinking or they're going to get so annoyed that you don't allow them to wallow that they go find someone else to complain to. I think you guys know this, but in case you don't, my happy place is on the beach. Actually, that's not enough. My happy place is on the beach with an iced coffee in my hand. What a vibe. There are a lot of beaches out there, but there's only one people call the beach. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, is made up of 14 coastal communities and 60 miles of sunny beaches. Together, they create a place that makes you feel like you belong. Shine and dine in a foodie haven with oceanfront patios, fresh seafood, low country classics, and southern favorites. Plus, my favorite, you can listen to live music any day of the year, outside at laid-back beach bars, at world-renowned theaters, or right on the boardwalk. You belong at Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Plan your trip to the beach at visitmyrtlebeach.com. This episode is brought to you by Saks Fifth Avenue. It's spring, or I guess I should say it's almost spring. But the second the weather starts turning and getting even slightly warm, I start looking for spring style. I think it goes back to when I was a little girl and I used to get an Easter dress. There's something about this time of year that makes me want to look for long, flowy maxi dresses and fun date night outfits, and maybe even something to spruce up my wardrobe for work. At Saks, you can find instant inspiration for whatever is on your list. Curate a brand new closet refresh or just get one or two great pieces to upgrade your overall look. If you're looking for shopping to be fun, easy, and stylish, then head to Saks for inspiring ways to upgrade your personal style. Shop Saks.com. All right, the last kind of difficult person I'm going to call the bulldozer. These are the people who are aggressive. They're domineering. They are always forceful. These are the unhealthy Enneagram 8s, if you're familiar with Enneagram. If you are dealing with a bulldozer, and this is not easy, if you have been trained to be good, maintain your composure and assert yourself. So use I statements. You can express your perspective without escalating the conflict. That's not going to work for me. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. Thank you for that perspective. I am going to keep doing what I'm doing. A bulldozer is not going to continue to interact with someone who will not allow them to dominate. That's their default setting. They want to go into situations, your mother, your boss, they like to control everybody in their environment. And so they really only want to interact with people that will allow them to control. In a lot of these situations, guys, if you actually just find the courage to stop interacting with them in a way that feeds something in them, they will go find someone else to harass. So let's get tactical. How are we dealing with these people? I'm going to give you 5 real quick, and then we're going to take a deep dive into each. Number 1, don't engage in their drama. Number 2, set and stick to your boundaries. Number 3, stop trying to change them. Just stop. You're not going to change them, and it's not your job. Number 4, use the emotional shield technique. I'm going to explain that in a minute. And number 5, protect your energy. Let's unpack these. So don't engage in their drama. This one's pretty obvious, but I'm listing it in case you need to be reminded that you currently are engaging in their drama. Because if they are interacting with you in ways that feel really difficult to process, and then you are carrying around the after effects of that interaction, you're in the drama with them. It's not your fault. You didn't choose to interact with this person, I hope. But what you do with that energy and what you do with that conflict and what you do with that interaction, that is up to you. For instance, let's say you are interacting with someone and you have no choice but to be inside of the interaction. Let's say someone's like venting and really dramatic. It's making you feel super uncomfortable. Just be like, okay, I can tell that this is important to you. Let's discuss it calmly. Let's discuss it calmly. So you're bringing it down to a more grounded level. And babe, if they won't go there with you, if they just keep getting more and more aggressive, their energy keeps getting higher and higher, remove yourself from the situation. Do not engage in the drama. You are not required to engage with drama queens unless they're paying you, in which case maybe you need to find another job. Number 2, set and stick to boundaries. So have you even clearly defined what kinds of behavior are acceptable to you with this person and communicated those limits? Here's the funny thing about boundaries. They are 100% your responsibility to explain and uphold. If someone is passing your boundary and you are allowing it, then you are the one who is not upholding the boundary. Clearly define what behavior is acceptable. Hey, I really value our conversations, but I'm uncomfortable with how negative it gets. I don't want to keep rehashing the same stuff. Or, hey, when we have these conversations, we're still talking about mom and daddy, and we're in our 50s and we're still complaining about stuff that happens in our childhood. I got to be honest, sis, it really just leaves me feeling depressed. And I've done so much work to try and get past it. So I don't want to keep rehashing this over and over. Clearly state it. You do not have to be mean. You don't have to meet them on their level, but you need to say what is and is not okay. You teach people how to treat you. If someone is treating you badly, it is because you have allowed it and they think it's okay. Number 3, stop trying to change them. Accept that you cannot control other people's behavior. We know this. The ancient Stoics talked about this. You cannot control what is happening. You can only control your reaction to it. So you are not going to change them, and it is not your responsibility. Instead of attempting to alter their pessimism, maintain focusing on your own positivity. I bet some of you didn't even realize that you are spending so much energy trying to change the person so that you can feel more comfortable when you interact with them. Not understanding you're Dorothy with the ruby slippers. You always had the power inside of you. Stop trying to change them. Change yourself. Because if you change yourself, the way they're acting won't even affect you. Number 4, use the emotional shield technique. So this is literally you visualize a barrier between you and the negative emotions projected by this person. And I could take you down a whole hippie woo-woo thing about how important it is to protect your energy. But even if you don't believe in that stuff, I promise this matters. Pray, we used to say, pray a hedge of protection around yourself. Meditate on you being safe and protected. But it is literally creating a barrier in your own mind to practice not taking in what they are putting out. So if you're inside of like a tense meeting and it's making you feel uncomfortable, literally imagine a shield that allows you to observe what's happening without taking on the emotions of other people. Number 5, protect your energy after interactions. If you have interacted with someone who is difficult or negative and you feel the resonance of that in your body, in your spirit, in your mind, engage in things that make you feel better. And I really encourage things that have physical movement. So going on a walk, listening to music while you dance around, like literally just get it out of your body. After hard conversations or interacting with your in-laws, even just 5 minutes to take some breaths, to say a prayer, to work through it, allows you to separate yourself from that situation. And I think in our own minds creates this safety around us that like, you know what, that interaction wasn't appropriate. And I refuse to take that into myself. And so I am going to get rid of it because that is not mine to hold. All right, my last thought on dealing with difficult people is it's worth including. Sometimes the best way to handle a difficult person is to ask yourself whether the relationship is worth maintaining. There's a chapter in the new book that talks about this question, and you don't have to read the book. I'll summarize it for you right now. Would you sign up for this again? So in this chapter, I tell the story about having people on my team. So like hiring people to work for me over the years. And I was watching this management video where someone was explaining how to deal with employees who are really difficult or challenging. And he said, imagine that you are interviewing this person for a job today. And you sit down at the interview and you have all of the knowledge you currently have about this person. Would you sign up for this again? Would you hire this person again? If your gut reaction is no, then what are you doing? If you have a friend from high school and knowing everything you know now, if you went and had coffee with them and you know all the drama that's coming and you know how many times you're going to have to talk them down, like if you know all of those things, would you ever want to hang out with them again? No. If you have a girlfriend and you were so excited when y'all first got together, but now she's just the worst. And you're like, oh, but we've been together for so long and we've spent so much time together. But I say, okay, knowing everything that you know about this person, would you want to still date her if you were going on your first date? And your reaction is no. Maybe you need to reevaluate this relationship. Maybe you need to reflect on the value that the relationship brings you versus the stress that it causes. So Jim Rohn very famously said that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Is this a person you want in your circle? Do you want the average of this person in how you react to the world, your characteristics, the ability to chase your dreams? Like our circle affects all of these things. Do you want this person to have that much power over your life? Because if the answer is no, this is not a conversation about how to deal with them. The real conversation, the real unpacking is whether they should be in your life anyway. All right, y'all. I hope something I said today was helpful for you. I hope you will consider some of my ideas. At the very least, try the emotional shield technique this week. I think it's a really great tool that we should all be using. I like to imagine, don't laugh, but I like to imagine sort of a circle of light surrounding me, whether that's pink or like a golden color, but just this sort of beautiful energy that surrounds me that allows me to put goodness out into the world, but doesn't allow negativity to come into my sphere. If you found value in our conversation today, please don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and check out my new book for deeper insights, especially the chapter, Would You Sign Up for This Again? which dives into all of these evaluations in our relationship and our life. I will be back tomorrow with another conversation just like this one, so I hope you'll come hang out. Until then, as always, I love you, and I'm rooting for you. The Rachel Hollis podcast is produced by me, Rachel Hollis. It's edited by Andrew Weller and Jack Noble. There's a revolutionary bra brand so confident it will change your life, they let you wear it risk-free for 60 days. Evelyn and Bobby is changing the game with their patented wireless replacement designed to support, smooth, and flatter an inclusive range of bodies up to a K-cup. Wear it, wash it, put it to the test. If it's not the most comfortable, supportive, and flattering bra you've ever worn, you'll get your money back. No questions asked. Go to evelynbobby.com/Rachel for $20 off your first bra. It's time to play ball. My son has been working with his baseball team since the fall, and we are officially in baseball season. So if you're a mama like me and you got to stock up on all the sporting gear, now is the time. Academy Sports and Outdoors has the gear that you need, and you can bring it home for less. Gear up for baseball, softball, and t-ball with essentials from Easton, Rawlings, and Wilson at Academy. Academy offers free 1-hour in-store or curbside pickup if you're like me and you forgot to get the equipment in time. Swing by your local store or shop academy.com today and get ready to hit it out of the park.